Podcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today. My name is Mara Smith, and I lead marketing on behalf of PepperJam. For anyone who has been through our earlier webinar today, thank you for joining our second PepperJam webinar of the day. We really appreciate your time. I'm very excited for this webinar because we are joined by SEO expert and guru, Steve Weber. Steve is going to be guiding us through a presentation that's part of a webinar series that he's been doing on behalf of PepperJam. Today's topic is 5 simple actions to take with your SEO in 2020. So with that, I'm going to be handing it over to Steve. And one final housekeeping item, if you have questions throughout the presentation, feel free to use the question panel within the GoToWebinar console. Steve will be answering any and all questions at the end of his presentation today. So thanks everybody for joining. Steve, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to turn it over to you to cover off on all this great content.
Mara, thank you so much. Welcome everyone for session 2. I'm going to leave this slide up for maybe 10 seconds more. And what you'll see here in the lower left corner, hopefully it's not cut off for you, I think it's good, but it's bit.ly 2020-SEO-actions. And what that'll take you to is the actual Google slide live time. And you could join in with any of the links and get a copy of this slideshow presentation right here, right now. And the reason I would encourage you to do that is some of these simple actions are really more my process. And in there, I don't know if you joined us last time, I'll give you a recap towards the end of this, but I love Google Sheets and I love giving you simple templates that you can just drop data in and take actions right from the analysis that you do with these sheets. So download a copy. It's right there in the lower left corner. I'll give you like 5 seconds more and we'll proceed. But get that link. 4, 3, 2, 1, let's do it. All right, so I am Steve Weber, and if you're joining us and this is your first time and this is your first session with us, we'll get you the recording of the previous webinar. And if you're joining us from years ago, you would have joined a couple SEO PepperJam webinars. And a couple years ago, I was the SEO director at PepperJam. I no longer am. We still work together, so I'm a PepperJam cousin, consider me that. But I am a full-time SEO consultant, and if I was to make my whole story condensed in a couple sentences, it would be my primary advantage when it comes to SEO is really twofold. It's that I've been doing this for the last 11 years, but even before I got here into internet marketing, part of the family business was going on tour with a band and had to leave the marketing world. But my stepdad owned a financial practice, and he said, "Hey, Steve, if you could pass the FINRA exams, the insurance exams, and become my stockbroker on staff, I'll let you be my marketing manager and my stockbroker at the same time." So I love a good challenge, passed all those tests, learned a ton about financial portfolio theory. And then of course, 2008 happens and your own family needs to lay you off. So long story short, since then, we've worked with some amazing clients along the way and some really large sites. But of course, it's the experience working on one site, learning, applying that to the next site, and really getting a feel for how SEO works. But the way and the primary advantage that I think the financial world gave me to how I think about SEO is, you know, when you're investing, you can't put all your budget, all of your investments in one particular asset class. You can't with SEO either. You can't bet the farm on links or on content or one particular page. No, you need to diversify. And you have to put some of your energy and effort towards the sure incremental bets that are going to drive your growth. And then, of course, you need to swing for the fences and work on those large campaigns. And that's what'll get you those gains, or it'll get you nothing. And really, I consider that to be my primary advantage. So consider me the SEO that's got the financial background and the experience. And today, our agenda is for this guy, me, Steve, to catch you up on what I see through my view of how Google's changing in 2020 and beyond, give you 5 tips that are centered around those Google changes, and peppered in the actual actions that you could take to get on the right side of history here. I put a third note in here. I'm going to throw a couple bonus tips in. So as I got building the slides, there were 5 actions, but there are many, many more. So stick with me, and this is going to be fun. So let's catch up on SEO. And these bullets here off to the right, hopefully you downloaded the slide, but really these bullets are here to get us thinking. And get us thinking like Google, like the engineers, and like this company that is in business to deliver the best result. And you really have to keep that in the forefront of your brain at any given moment in your SEO career, in your focus of campaigns. Just remember that at the end of the day, Google's trying to deliver the best result for its users, for its searchers, which is all of us. I have an Android phone, a Google Assistant that's probably going to go off a couple times during this presentation, but we're all using this thing. And just remember that they're trying to deliver the best result. And in 2020, they're leveraging machine learning and really the intro to artificial intelligence to help them in that pursuit. And the main themes of what they're doing this year, and when I say main themes, all of these bullet points really roll up to, let's consider them 4 different categories. It's mobile first. So everything that Google is basing your rankings and the traffic they give you, all of that is how your web page looks on a mobile phone. So me and SEO, I'm working on a laptop here. It's really easy to look at the source code to write content on my computer, but how Google interprets it is on a phone. So just keep that in mind. Going forward, Google and all it's doing is really trying to get to the point of every single web page that it analyzes is through that mobile first and really mobile only view. So whether you're a B2B site and the majority of your organic traffic comes from a desktop, it doesn't matter. Google and how they're processing your website for organic growth is going to be on mobile and how your site lays out in a mobile environment going forward. Now, the next theme is machine learning, and that's been an ongoing theme for the past couple years. We said Google's in business to deliver the best result, and they're using machine learning to calibrate and make very well sure when they get it right and when they get it wrong. So let's say you have search results for a search query like blue widgets. And that's only an example. Of course, no one's really searching that. But let's say my website ranks second, and I'm putting a lot of energy and effort to try and rank first. Well, one of the things I might want to do is really focus on my click-through rate of my title tag, because Google, that would be a signal to them if more people clicked on my second position result than what's currently in the first position if we looked more enticing to click. Well, Google is at that level, and that's only one example. And some of the tips you'll see here speak exactly to that. But in real time, Google is calibrating everything it knows about your website, about your competitor's website, and they're making sure they get it right. So that is a huge theme that we're going to talk about in slides to come. The next is speed, and not only speed, but speed for user experience. The other is natural language processing. So when we talk about artificial intelligence, Google is less about put these keywords on this page, and now it's about what are the things and its understanding that are mentioned on this page. And in the next slide, there's a neat little tool that'll show you how to compare and what Google actually sees. It's really cool. I'll spit out a couple dates here because one of the things that is synonymous with SEO in 2020 is algorithmic changes. We talked about machine learning and them making sure that they get it right. And part of that is adjusting the code at large, their algorithm. And periodically, it looks like it's almost quarterly that they're fine tuning all of their machine learning at a mass scale just to make sure they get it right. And I put here under key dates, you have January 13th, March 11th, May 4th, and one that just happened. It seems like it keeps happening on August 11th. But I put here where I put the hyphen, I'm really giving you, it's not definitive data. This is based on my primarily large, some of them are e-commerce, some of them are B2B, but it's my client view of the web, which really isn't that large, but it kind of is at the same point of how I see these algorithms playing out and what I needed to do to fine tune to get my clients to grow. So in January, it looked like they were really focused on the quality of content and really just fine tuning natural language. So anywhere where I was a little too optimized or, what we would have considered unnatural, like keyword stuffing, but not aggressively. Just, hey, the best headphones are, and the reason they're the best headphones, you get it. Well, they tightened up on that, and that's been a theme I've seen. In March, I don't know that I would call it an algorithm update, but one of the things that changes searcher behavior, which in turn impacts their machine learning, is this pandemic and how it affects all of us. So it's something to consider there. And in May, over optimizations yet again, it just seems like natural language, they're really trying to tighten up on it. And if you joined us in our last webinar, another thing that they changed are some of their linking attributes, like no follow or rel equals sponsored, which affects us here in affiliate. And then more recently, a large algorithm change that they came back and they just called it a glitch. So there's a lot going on, but those themes, mobile, machine learning, speed, and this thing, natural language processing, this is really where we're at with SEO. And if you feel like I feel, it's certainly not getting easier, but it's definitely getting more tech heavy. And if you follow us for a couple slides, you could certainly still find the low-hanging fruit that others just did not think about. So my phone is vibrating. Hopefully all is working. Yeah, all right. Sorry about that, guys. Pausing. When your phone vibrates during a webinar, it's like, oh, I hope we're still live. So this link, if you're joining us in the slides and you're able to click this link, it'll take you to Google's demo for their natural language processing API. And if you look at my screenshot, all I did is I'm trying to rank a client site for best headphones. And what I did is I took the text, I just copied Control A to highlight everything, copied all of the text of the page that was ranking first, and I threw that text into this natural language processing API, and I wanted to just digest what I saw. Here's what I see. Hopefully you can see my mouse. If you can't, that's fine. But you see, anywhere there's a noun, Google knows nouns as entities, fancy word for noun, person, place, thing, recipe, you got the idea. But what it's doing is any noun that it sees in the text, it's assigning a number to that. Google understands the number and its associations with that number. And as a whole, it understands what's going on with this text or with this web page. So one of the things, this isn't even a tip, we didn't even get to the tips yet, but one of the things you could do for any given keyword that you're going after is do exactly what I did. Copy the text from the page that's ranking in the first position, throw it in this free demo. Anytime you see API, please don't get scared that it's technical. All you have to do is just paste text, click go, stare at it. In another screen, take your web page text, do the same thing and compare. There's a couple different tabs here. You can compare, make sure you're in the right category. But all of this might be a little more advanced than what I wanted to get to. I digress. I just want to show you Google's at the level of understanding the nouns that you mention. And the real takeaway of why I show you this is in anything you guys are writing, keep it as naturally written as you possibly can. Write it so that there's value, but first and foremost, write it at the level that your audience digests it. So don't dumb it down, just write it as if you're speaking to your best consumer or your persona, who exactly you're targeting. That's really the takeaway here, is write naturally. Let's get to these tips. So SEO in 2020, we're talking about machine learning, we're talking about artificial intelligence, and I would be remiss if I didn't go into this side of it. It's if you search headphones, if you search best headphones, or if you search something low in the buyer journey, like how to buy a specific headphone, you get different results for everything you search, and your opportunity, it varies. Your competition and your ability to rank for these keywords, it varies because Google's looking for different things now with each of these keywords. So let's talk about it. I'm using that headphone example here. So if any of you are versed in the headphone world, you know Sony just put a new pair of noise canceling headphones out. They're really cool. This is, of course, I built these slides a couple weeks ago, so it wasn't out yet, but the XM4 is out now. Anyway, at the beginning of the buyer journey, I know I want headphones, but I don't know what I want. So I might search broadly. I might search the word headphones. And now it's really enticing as an SEO to want to rank for that because it's got so much search demand or monthly search volume stats because it's through the roof, but there's no qualifying words to that. So you have to take a step back and ask yourself, even when I do rank for that, what is that going to do for me? People might land on my page that's got a pair of headphones. They might be window shopping. Basically, where I'm going with this is you don't really know what they want. So it's hard to optimize for the outcome of them either clicking your affiliate link or buying a pair of headphones from you because it's so early in the buyer journey. To go quickly through this slide, it's the same thing at every step. But as you get closer to figuring out what it is that searcher wants, it gets less competitive, but there's also less people searching for that particular phrase because they go from not knowing what their needs are to knowing exactly what their needs are. And now they want for you to recommend what is the next step. But as we go here, best headphones, it's going to have different results than headphones. And then this piece of content, best headphones, let's say on it we have Bose QC35 versus this Sony 100XM3. And when I say verse, even that's a piece of content you might have in this one where it's still broad, but you might have Sony 100XM3 versus Bose QC35. Anyway, all of these are different articles with different levels of preparation that are going to need to go into each of these. And where Google is at now is really, it's a proper format to be able to rank for that. And when I say proper format, it might be a category page on a really well-known site like Best Buy that's ranking at in the #1 spot. But at the same rate, it might be a definition of the word headphones right on Wikipedia, which is a really authoritative site, and it's going to be hard to rank for that. So you need to look at the keyword and focus on writing incredible content, but it needs to align with the right format. So I'm going to go to this next slide, and I'm really going to pick one of these keywords just to show you how I think. Right now, it's kind of hard to tell, but when you search headphones, this carousel up here at the top, these are all paid ads. They're populated through a Google Merchant Center, Google Shopping data feed. But this is already an area that your searcher can click that you as an organic marketer, you're not able to rank for this. The best you can do is rank here. But at the moment, it's a question yourself. Am I able to outrank Best Buy? Possibly not. Possibly you're a big brand with a lot of history and that is worth going after. But more than likely, it's probably not going to happen. The next is a new section. It's populated through that Google Merchant Center data feed, but these are actually organic clicks. And it's a section just like this, but instead of the searcher clicking here, if they click here, consider that an organic free click. It's a new area. So as we know it, when it comes to headphones, there's really only 2 organic traditional listings that true or traditional SEO of us optimizing your landing page, you'd even be able to rank for. But I'll get right to the core here. If you search for a particular model, you have paid ads off here at the right. Best Buy is still up at the top. Then you have Sony themselves. You have those popular products. So again, a new section. And really, there's only this one organic listing above the fold, and then Amazon. You get the idea that in the product world, it's very hard to rank. But if you notice here, I put that aligns with the right format. One of the things that looks to be a steady theme over the last couple years is this above the fold giant organic listing that is a featured snippet. Some SEOs might call this an answer box if the keyword happens to be a question, but this is 100% organic. And you'll see as you navigate the web, a search for best or top or a search for a recipe. There are certain formats that trigger this, but this is still early in the shopper's journey and relatively easy to create the content to try and rank for this. So action number 1, you gotta dial in the keywords that you're going after in 2020, but really focus on the right format. And the tip there is just vet. Google search the keyword that you want to go after and vet it. Ask yourself realistically, am I able to create a better page like Best Buy has? And am I able to outrank Best Buy or Wikipedia or whoever is there? Now, when it comes to best, look at the format that they used. What sort of headers? What sort of words? How did they describe each of the products? What did it take to get that listing? And ask yourself, can I do that better? I'm having luck here. I'll step off there. It's the biggest organic spot that we have at the moment, but I'm really having luck when it comes to listicles, gear guides, that sort of thing. But just line up the right format with what Google wants to rank. That's really the action. I'll go quicker with step 2 through 5 and we'll keep you guys moving. Here is a template that I want to show you guys, and with this data, I'm going to have you use your Google Search Console. So I'm going to jump out of the presentation and ask that you download this difference calculator. I'll show you all of these steps here. But the tip is download the template, follow the instructions in the slide, and we're going to find out in a comparison because you've got a baseline against where you were from a time period perspective and know where you're up and where you're down. So let's do it live time and I'll show you what I mean and we'll talk about the takeaways here. So you're going to go to my website, which if it takes a minute, I'm doing some funny things with caching. Just reload the page. I'm testing something, a new plugin. But you'll get this button here. Just click it. It's going to make a copy of a Google Drive document. And just like last time, if you're joining us, anything that's gray is a formula that you don't need to do anything for. All we need to do is paste over the columns in white, and the outcome is going to be what is the takeaway here on the summary slide, which I have top takeaways. So if you don't have Google Search Console already set up, set it up. Google the words Google Search Console, follow the steps, make sure you set it up for your site. And Google Search Console is Google's set of data where they actually give you keyword data. So since 2011, in your Google Analytics, my Google Assistant's going off. Your Google Analytics doesn't give you keyword data. So Google Analytics is your side of the story. Once Google.com sends traffic to you, your Google Analytics is going to then start recording and say, here's what happened since Google sent us traffic. But Google Search Console, in this performance section, it gives you clarity on what sort of keyword traffic they're actually sending to you. And you're able to see what are the most traffic driving pages currently on your website. And there's power in this data. There's power in knowing how this data changes, because as an SEO, it becomes really difficult when it takes so long to know when you got something right and to know when you're cold, when you got something wrong and you really need to step off. And that's what this template's going to show you. So follow my lead here. In your Google Search Console, go to your performance tab. Depending on if you're in a beta program and you have Google Discover traffic, this might be called Search Analytics. It might be called a couple different things. However, you're really looking for the screen that looks like this. And I'm pretty sure it's got like a trend line. It's just called different things depending on the version that you're working with. But we're going to do this. We're going to click this date range and we're going to go to compare. And it really does not matter for the sake of the template what comparison you do. You might want to do year over year. I'm using my own website as an example. And my own website, there's really no takeaway for me to share with you guys if I did it against last year. So I'm just going to do it like this. I'm going to do the last 4 weeks versus the previous period. And if you'd like to follow along, that's great. Just pick a comparison. Then I'm going to click up here, export. And it doesn't matter how you export it. I'm doing Excel because I'd like to click download once. And I'm trying to get both the queries, the keywords, and the pages. So on the queries tab, go like this. Copy everything in there, copy, and then go over to that Google sheet. I started with queries, so we'll drop that in first. Just paste over the dummy data that I have, the example data, and it's going to take a second to paste it. And then we're just going to do the same exact thing for pages. So I'm going to switch that up. Go to the Pages tab, click Copy. I Control-C'd it. So if you didn't see me right click, that's what I'm doing. Paste it, or you could do that, Paste Special. And then once you have the data in here, here are really the takeaways. This is the snapshot, the dashboard of what is different, the top 15 things that is different month over month or year over year or week over week, depending on the comparison. And as an SEO in 2020, with all of these machine learning, with all of these complexities, this is the surest bet to know when you get something right and to know when you should do more of it, or to know when you got something wrong and you should, of course, step off and focus more on the things you got right. So use this template for good. Hopefully that made sense. And if I was to give you the 10 seconds on what I see here with my own website, I have this massive blog where I'm trying to get weekly free digital marketing certifications. I'm really trying to rank for certified digital marketer on a website without any backlinks. And really how I'm doing that is just a massive blog post that's been updated for the last, it's almost 3 years. It'll be 3 years in January of just free digital marketing classes that you can get. And it finally looks like it got me 15 more clicks than the month before. But really, the website doesn't have much on it. It's got that blog post, there's a couple links, and it looks like that 3-year running certification strategy is finally getting me some impressions. But I'm able to see here on the left how pages change, how they go up and down. The upper left quadrant, these are the top 15 changes on pages that fell. Really, there weren't any pages that are behind where they were. That's why I really only have, I'm behind on 2 clicks. One on an old blog post called the stethoscope method, and you're welcome to check that out. It's not going to be part of this presentation, but it is another template that you can get if you follow the blog. But really, the takeaway is this. These 2 blog posts are up, and then from a keyword perspective, here's where I'm up and down. So I'm up on luxury SEO, and these are sorted by clicks. So this is where I'm down in clicks, and this is where I'm up in clicks. And you can move the columns here. So I'm up luxury SEO. It's not a large website. Where this really becomes valuable is when you have many pages and you need that 10,000 foot view. So I recommend you get this template and you do this sort of thing for yourself on a weekly basis, monthly basis, and certainly a year-over-year basis to know when you got it right and when you got it wrong. Let's go back to it. Tip number 3. In 2020, Google still loves links despite what they're sharing over on Twitter. And we talked about this in our last webinar. Google likes links so much that now they're giving credit to no follow links. I'm actually having luck with Pinterest. And the very last slide in this deck is the template that I shared from the webinar previously. And it's the template to be able to download links from Google Search Console, their top link domain report. And just how does that change over time? And one of the things I'm seeing is I'm seeing more links back to sites from Pinterest, which is a no follow link, or for SEO purposes should have no value. So links certainly still matter to SEO. And one of the easiest tips is just to make sure any link you once had that is still live on that other website pointing back to yours still points to a live page. And I know that sounds ridiculously simple, but I cannot tell you how much authority there is to send to your website if you just audit any of these backlink tools like Moz, SEMrush, Ahrefs, and I think Neil Patel has a free one. I could have sworn I put it in here, but I guess I didn't. If you Google search Neil Patel backlinks, he's got a free tool. Not that I'm trying to give Neil a plug, it's just a free tool. But the process here is go to any of these tools, download your list of backlinks, and they're all basically the same. It's going to tell you in one of the columns where the link is coming from, and then in another column, what is the destination or the page on your website. And what you're going to do is copy that column of your website's link. So that column that all points back to you, where on my site, it might be us Weber Marketing / luxury brands, or that page that I was just talking about, and any other page on my site. But what I'm going to have you do is use Screaming Frog. It's a crawler tool. So Google finds new content on the web by crawling from link in your content to another link, to another link, to another link, to another link, and ultimately building its understanding or its index of the web at large. So we have tools to be able to emulate what that process might look on your website. And that tool, one of them, is Screaming Frog. So if you were to Google search Screaming Frog or go to this link here, you'll be able to download a free demo. And for the purposes of what I'm showing you here, that free demo is good enough. And if you find that this tool, you just don't like it, or you don't want to have to pay to expand the limits, there is a limit of 500 URLs, not for this option that I'm going to show you, but if you're going to crawl a website, it'll tap out at 500 URLs. This thing, Xenu, hopefully I'm saying this right, this tool is so old. I feel like I've heard about this tool for the last 10 years. It's just kind of the same for the last 10 years. It's pretty basic, but it'll do exactly what I'm having you do in this process. So either of those tools, download the slides again and get one of these tools. It's good enough. Copy your backlink destinations, paste it into this tool. The process is basically like this. You'll go to mode, list, and then you paste it in. It's basically like this. So let's say I copy, do I have anyone's backlinks? This is DC Shoes. I keep using DC Shoes as an example. You'll go here. I just copied the list. So I'll go to list, mode, list. I gotta clear it first. You go mode, list, upload, paste. I happen to copy 527 URLs. And it basically shows you, no, these aren't live. And if they're not live, the takeaway is redirect this page to a close equivalent, and then you get credit for that backlink. You reclaim the authority to your website. So get one of these tools, any source of backlinks you can get, whether that be that free tool, whether you subscribe to Moz, Majestic, Ahrefs. The only reason I put Ahrefs here in the screenshot is because if you are fortunate enough to get the demo or subscribe to this tool, they outline in a list what they already found as your broken URLs. So I could go in here, click export, reclaim any of those links, and I'm moving. It's the quickest way to get authority back to your website, is just to be meticulous and make sure none of it hits a broken page. All right, tip number 4. We'll still use DC as an example. If you think about your own website and what I said about Google having to use its resources to crawl through your website, let's use DC as an example. DC, they know about the homepage, and really they know about the homepage of most any site that's already indexed. But let's say they happen to land here first. Well, the first link that Google might go to, I don't know this to be true because I'm not looking at the source code view, might be the men's category. But if we stop for a second, from the men's category, they might, if it's visible in the source code, they might go to this link, get this one, so on and so forth. I bring the navigation and really the footer up because they're links on your website that are on every single page of your website. So let's say, for example, DC here, and I'll show you how I found this, they link in their career page. Look at this. They link to, they must be a part of the Quicksilver family. I have no affiliation with DC other than recently getting back into skateboarding and loving 1990s looking shoes that are massive. So if you're on the DC family and you need an SEO, hit me up. I got some tips. Please send me some shoes. We appreciate it. But check this out. You link to careers on every single page of your site. And even though this goes to another website, think of Google's resources like an arcade. For every one quarter or token, every link you point to is going to take one of those resource tokens. Well, you point on every single page to this, but watch what happens when I go here. It redirects and then it's a broken page. So there's at least 2, possibly even 3 tokens on every single page of DC's site. So the takeaway here is don't link through redirects in your own site. And I know I told you to just use redirects here in tip 3, but there's a major distinction and a reason I put this as the follow-up tip. Redirects work when someone else links back to you. But when you link to yourself, you really should just update the link to the new destination. I hope that makes sense. Your website's going to change over time, and you're going to know about that, or really you should know about that. This is an easy way to figure that out if you're someone like me that's often a third party and needs to create a plan based on something that's already happened. Here's the process to do that. The end goal, though, is make sure that you, on your site, you don't link through any redirects. Redirects are for backlinks. It's for someone else because you can't change their HTML. You can at least pass Google to a live page. But on your site, you're in total control. So stop wasting 2 tokens, 2 resource units for everyone. Here's a tool to be able to do this. And my process would be this. And the way that I found that DC link, try and find or think of a page on your own website where there are not a lot of links. It's not that you can't do this on the homepage, you 100% can. But what I'm trying to do is isolate pages that are really thin, something like a privacy policy, where the only links on it, or the majority of links on it, are only going to be the top nav, side nav, whatever it be, main navigation, and the footer. For DC as an example, I picked the contact us page, so chances are that might work for you too. The example is still the same though. And I really wanted to use this. I wanted to use this one, and then right before presenting, I get this 502. So hopefully this site comes back. Either way, it looks like this second link here still works. That's why I have a second link for you. But basically, all you do is whatever your landing page is, paste that in, copy the links. DC links to a lot of pages, and there's something to be said for that. There's something to be said for just staying concise with what you want users in Google to actually navigate to. They link to a lot of pages. And then just do the same thing. Paste what you copied in. And here's how I found that link passed through a redirect. I'm looking at the status code or status column, and I'm letting Screaming Frog do its thing. And I could see here, yeah, their affiliate program, that redirects. So they're wasting resources. So if you do this for your site, just look, any broken page, fix it or remove it. And anything that points to a redirected page, just update that link so that it points to the live version. And follow that process in the slides. It's going to look the same. It looks like the first link here doesn't work, but the second link does. All right, guys, we're almost there. Tip number 5. We got kind of technical today. We talked about some of my process, some templates I gave you. I'm going to give you one more. But just don't forget the easy stuff. Even though Google is getting a little more complex, it's ultimately looking for the best result for searchers. We talked about machine learning and tightening up on your click-through rate. In the slide, I have the acronym here, CTR. That's really what I mean, click-through rate. If you look in Google Search Console at the page level, so if you go exactly where we were a couple minutes ago, you click performance, you click pages, and you vet your own pages. I'm really looking at 90 days worth of data on a website that really only started to get traction over the last 28 days, so it's something to consider. But my average click-through rate is terrible. It's a 0.3. And what that means is every time Google gave me an opportunity, they gave me an impression or they showed a page on my website, I only got clicked on 0.3% of the time, not even a percentage. The easiest SEO you could do is reach out and grab the traffic when they display you. So an action step here, click pages, look at where you're getting impressions, look at where you're getting clicks, and anywhere that's got any page, to be clear, any page that's got a below average click-through rate, go and optimize your browser title, your meta tag title, that title that's in Chrome up at the top. Edit that so that it's optimized more for what you're actually getting traffic for. And what I mean by that is you'll be able to see it in this template tool. Give a general sense, since chances are good you're optimizing the site or you wrote the content, that you know what each of these pages are about. On that particular page, it's going to be the one about certification. So if I look in here, it seems like I'm getting a lot of impressions for SEO certification exam. So I might want to consider, it's not really relevant to what I'm writing in that, but if that were the case, if it was relevant, I might want to try and tighten up on these 161 impressions with a different title that speaks to what I'm getting impressions for, so people are more enticed to click on it. In Google Search Console, it would look like this. It's real simple. I could see that it's this page, this second one, that's getting a low click-through rate. I'm still in comparison mode, but all you have to do is watch what happens up here when I single click it. You single click it. Google Search Console now isolates its filters to only that page, and watch how powerful it becomes. I now see exactly what keywords that page is getting clicked on. Really, it doesn't look like a ton of data. E-market, it looks like people trying to find answers to certification. Maybe I'm going about this the wrong way. I should start to give away answers instead of, hey, go learn something. That's something to be said though. It's really this that I'm after. Where am I getting impressions? Where am I growing in impressions? And does it make sense to optimize this page's title to get a better click-through rate for that? For me and that site, it's really more so here, or best, yeah, here we go, but third time's a charm. That might make more sense for my page. So earning clicks for these 137 certifications. But the long and short here is don't forget the easy stuff when it comes to SEO. You have more data than ever. Google has more data about your site than ever. But ultimately, when you rank, you want to carry those users to whatever action you want them to take. For me, get a certification, so I'd probably optimize more for best certification. But for you and your example, whatever it might be, take a look at the report, see where you're getting impressions, and just tighten up. I threw a couple other tips in here that I'll go over quickly. Meta descriptions, it's still out for debate if they actually help you, but treat them like this. Whatever keyword you're going after, make sure it's written naturally in there, but ultimately entice the user to click with that description, and it should help with your click-through rate and Google's machine learning. When it comes to speed, a tool I like, I'm pretty sure, and I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure this has some of the latest Google compression built into it. It's an app called squish.app. Any image you put online, if you don't have some sort of compression tool, this is completely free. Just drag and drop and download the new version once you ran it through this thing before you upload it, and then you will have compressed your image. Google recently spoke about headings. They threw us a bone in a recent blog post saying that headings are a strong signal. It's still the same when it comes to SEO. The general use is to use one H1 in your HTML and treat the outline as if you were writing a paper. It's not the worst thing in the world if there's more than one H1. Just don't forget the easy stuff. But most importantly, write naturally. Now, I will go quickly through these extra tips, but it's pretty self-explanatory if you download the slides. Google's got some new page speed metrics coming out. Read up about them. Largest contentful paint, first interactive delay, and cumulative layout shift. It's late in the day, guys. Enunciation's going all over the place. Read up about these metrics because when it comes to page speed, Google, they said in 2021, these are going to matter for ranking. And we're going to need to optimize for certain thresholds. It's no longer about how quickly did the entire page download, but rather certain spots and certain user experience metrics. So read up about this because in 2021, that's what's coming. Now, some easy things. We talked about mobile first. And if you use Chrome, and now you might be on a Mac, so factor in, I'm not a Mac user, but chances are the equivalent of this will work. If you click Control-Shift-I and then this button or Control-Shift-M, you'll be able to see a mobile view of whatever website you're on. And that is an easy way to optimize, except I don't know how to close it with this GoToWebinar thing right here. There we go. That's an easy way to see a mobile view, and you can optimize accordingly. And you want to make sure that mobile and desktop and the content lays out, they're at least on par with each other for when Google switches to mobile first for your site. An easy way to see, this comes in handy when you're doing SEO. Google no longer has a domain authority equivalent or page rank public score. So one of the things I like to do is look at, and I'm going to do this on my own homepage, you in Chrome, before any website, type CACHE, no space, hit enter, and it will give you the last date that Google cached or stored, indexed this particular page. So if there's a new piece of content you're working on and you're wondering, hey, does Google even have this page? Try that search parameter in Chrome and get the date. Now, generally, this is my own gut check, but if a page was quality to Google, they would have been there in 1 or 2 days. So it's speaking of my own website here. They haven't been there for 4 days. So generally, I have some work to do. My own website is usually the last one that I get to, though. Anyway, last slide here. Check out the last webinar, and I explain how to use this. It's all the same. It's basically download this template, and I take you to this report. It's links in Google Search Console, and you're going to export this and export it, copy it, put it in the template, and watch how that data changes week to week. That's what the template does. So Google doesn't tell you where they're getting more links from a certain area, and this is my process to be able to do that. And the large takeaway of the previous webinar, we were trying to solve for, do affiliate links still matter? I'll give you the spoiler there. It's, yeah, most likely any link matters, and matters more so than it used to, because now Google takes what it wants, and there's patents basically saying links that get clicked on are the important links. So it no longer matters, is this no follow? Is this from an authoritative domain? If you optimize how you lay your site out for users and entice people to click, you're on the right side of history. When I look at Google's data though, I don't know if this is going to last forever or if it's just a right now sort of thing. Google's definitely linking back to the sites that I look after, from Pinterest, from Mild, from some sources that are definitely no follow links, and they're coming back through this report called Top Links Report. This is my template to be able to track that over time. And just like with the difference of actual traffic, when it comes to links, I no longer worry about, is this a domain authority 95? I actually don't even need to build links. But I do steer my clients towards these no follow opportunities that they could do on their own as they build content. And the takeaway moment for all of you is there's something to be said for Pinterest right now. So download this template and follow how Google's sending your links back. I'm going to check out that question panel that I've had collapse this whole time. But you guys, you're welcome to hang out as I answer these questions. I want to thank you for joining the last 2 webinars. Please download these slides. And if you have any questions at all that I don't answer, I'm going to hop out and answer them right now. You're welcome to contact me. So Twitter is at SWeberMarketing. Email is steve@SWeberMarketing. Anyone at PepperJam, thank you so much for letting me do this, letting me speak to the audience. And I'll scroll back to the top while I answer these questions, download these slides. But if you guys are not going to hang out, it was great seeing you. I'll get you the recording, we'll get you the slides, and thank you. Let me jump in here to the questions and we'll start powering through. And if you have any questions, hop into this question panel and ask them now, and I'll do my best to get to them. I just have to make this a little larger for myself. All right, can I get that link? Yes, any of the links that I shared here. So one of the questions, I'm not sure which link she was referring to. Anything in here in the slideshow presentation, go to this bit.ly link. It looks like a couple of you are already here. It'll take you to my Google Doc, and any of these links you should be able to click on, go to, download. Any of it is all here. So the bit.ly link is bit.ly 2020-SEO actions, and the slides are there for you, all the links you could click on. All right, looks like there is only one other question. Ren, thank you for asking great questions. Thanks for being here last time and being a total SEO mastermind. Shout out to Ren. He asks, are there any, oh man, reading your question, lovely. Are there any Google Search Console certification courses that you've taken, and do I recommend any? I gotta think for a second, Ren. I know I've been watching you, I've been following you, and I know you made it through some of SEMrush's certification courses. The only other free ones that touch on SEO don't really go into depth on Google Search Console. So I think what I gotta do is just create content around that. I'll hop in YouTube, do a tutorial, and you'll be the first one to get that. But no, there are no certification courses when it comes to SEO that Google built themselves. There's probably something about that too. Google's got a lot of great content on their Webmaster official blog and their official YouTube. They're finally starting to answer questions. But when it comes to us in SEO, we're reliant on other parties like Ahrefs, SEMrush, Moz, any of them and their certification courses, but none specifically focus on Google Search Console. That said, you have my contact info. If you have any specific questions about Google Search Console or anything you'd like to see in a video or another webinar, we could go in depth on that tool alone. But even saying that, I think I'm making a bigger deal than it is because there's really not a lot in there. It's basically this performance section, this coverage section to tell you how you're using Google's resources. Core vitals is new. Mobile usability, which hopefully you don't have a lot in there. Site link search box, or how you're using structured data. And then some of these legacy tools like international target, I guess there is a bunch in here. But for the most part, where you're really going to spend time is in here. Where did I get traffic? What keywords am I getting traffic for on a particular page? And we'll create a video here, but the quickest tip is start with pages. Always do some sort of comparison. Single click, switch to keywords or queries, and there's power in knowing exactly where you're getting impressions to any given page. The downfall, or what's not really clear with this tool, is you can't look at all of the keyword to landing page pairings, but if you start, like what I mean by that is if I search queries, which is what it defaults to, it doesn't tell me what page that particular keyword maps to. My process, I like to start with pages, grab a filter, which basically is that exact page, or if you single click on a page, and then switch to queries, it'll show you that. Ren chimed back in. Yeah, this is the way he could communicate with me is through this. Yeah, he's asking, so it's more or less keyword mapping. I gave you a really one-sided answer with the way that I use this tool, but yeah. And if you're able to tap the API, it sounds like I need to make a video more in depth on Google Search Console. But yeah, that's how I use Google Search Console the majority of the time is in here. And it's less about keyword mapping. When I think about keyword mapping, I'm thinking I want to rank for SEO for luxury brands. That's what I hope for. But Google Search Console is showing you the reality. It's, well, you actually rank for luxury brands SEO or SEO report. And it's a way to make, I guess it's a way to take their map and get the outcome of your map aligned. But there are other things in here that you might want to take a look at. Like use my template for links to know how the data is changing. You want to learn where you're using resources. Guys, there's still 7 of you left, and it looked like Ren was the only one asking questions. I'll give you a couple more minutes to ask any question. Otherwise, it has been a total pleasure. All right, some of you are dropping out. I think we're about done. So I'll hang out for another minute or two, and we'll make sure we get you this recording. But thank you guys so much for listening to me today, joining our webinar. Hopefully you're walking away with some sort of knowledge, value add template that you can use and get a ton of organic traffic. Appreciate you guys being here. So thank you. Hanging out for a minute or two more and then we'll stop it.
No problem, Steve. Thank you so much for walking everybody through this great presentation full of very rich and informative insights.
Mara, thank you so much. I think we're good. No one asked any questions here, so we're probably good.
All right, so let's end it. For anybody who's left, we'll post the recording, and I think we'll be making the slides available since Steve's already made them public. So be on the lookout for that, and thanks everybody. And most importantly, Steve, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.